100% off the strength, man.
Off the strength.
Can't get that off the strength.
Let's get ready to rock. What's good, everybody? What's good? Welcome back to yet another episode of Off the Strength, where we're giving you the inside look into all things wellness culture. I'm a trainer called Tony, and of course, with me, I got a gentleman of extraordinary league.
KR Jones is in the building.
That's right, folks. We are back. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all types, from near and far, you are now in store for a treat. Ain't that right, Brother Jones?
Yay.
Brother Jones, how about you break out while we're in store for such a treat today? This is a very fantastic story, man.
We in store for a treat today because the stars aligned. In more than one way, this brother came past as we were recording at our other studio. And we
In the heart of New York.
Yeah, in the heart, in the top, at the bottom of the rock.
Bottom of the rock. We're making it to the top one day.
The block of the rock is where we really were. And this brother rolled past and we was like, oh man, look, we got support out there. Cool. And we was like, we had no idea
At all.
who this man was. So then when we found out, we were in awe. So now that we are here on this couch to have this great conversation, we have the Emmy Award-winning.
11 times.
11 times. I mean, you got some other stats you want to throw
Put
out
some
there?
respect on it. I'm just saying. It was like not just one.
Not one.
This is 11 of them things.
11. You know what I'm saying? The National Black Journalists Association, the man, the myth, the legend. We got brother Darren Haynes in the studio today.
Make some noise one time. Come on now.
Appreciate y'all. Yeah, you hype me up, man. Hype me up. I appreciate you guys. But yeah, the stars align. Who would have known? You know what I mean? From walking by trying to roller skate at Rockefeller Center.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we here. So this is how we uplift each other. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So I'm happy to be here and see what y'all got, man. I already saw a whole bunch of your stuff already. It's fire. I just want to be a part of the fire.
Oh, man. And I had to check out a bunch of your stuff, too. And seriously, brother, this is inspiration because a lot of people say things, but they don't actually follow through. When you said you was walking past the window, he's like, yo, I'm going to come in, check y'all out one time. I was like, wait a second, hold on. We go back, and I was like, Kyle, do you realize what just happened? We was walking past. It's just like, wait a second, hold on. This man is a sports director. He's been inside. Not only does he play this and live in this wellness lifestyle, you got to see how fly he's coming in. I mean, I saw some of the segments that you're coming in with when you're giving out the retirement to the streak of having Washington sell out. I was like, wait, hold on.
Oh, yeah.
He's got the vocal stylings coming along.
We had to have a funeral.
He had the
funeral to end that sellout streak, man. There's what other way to go out? And then I don't think you saw it though, because I clipped it off. Unless you did see it, we got the 40 ounce because you know when you
I
say
saw the 40.
Oh, you did see the 40 ounce? He poured it out.
He's
for your
pouring
homies?
out 40. So it's like it's so aligned that it makes too much sense, man. So Dan, I'm just excited to hear about it, and I want to celebrate you for where you are, but also need to hear about that story just to see how you transitioned into where you became. So this is the thing that we love to do over here at Off the Strength, man.
But real quick, I always let my yes mean yes and my no mean no.
Okay.
I'm always quick to say yes and slow to say no. So when I say yes, the only thing that was going to stop me from saying no is a schedule conflict.
Okay.
But then there's always another day.
Right.
So we're going to make it happen.
I appreciate that, brother.
Yeah,
I
no
really
doubt.
do. And I mean, we got one way that we like to kick this thing off. Brother Jones, you want to pull this out?
Of course. Now, before I get into that, I want the record to reflect that this man is accomplished. And the laundry list
Of accomplishments.
that I did not go through, I want y'all to go out there and do your Googles. And
We're
look
going to
and
put them
see.
into the show notes. We got to. We got to
Now,
make sure.
We're going to stretch this out a little bit. We like to start the show off with a question like this.
Okay.
And this question is coming in hot, brother. Where were you when you fell in love with this thing we call wellness?
That's a great question. When I fell in love with it, probably when I was 33 years old and I was anchoring SportsCenter. And I realized that I was in a place that a lot of people aren't in, and I was able to live a lifestyle. I'm not cheap, I'm frugal, but I'm able to be very blessed to support my family in many different ways. And that's when I got into learning how to invest and stuff like that. But it was 33 years old. If anybody was like, what age would you want to go back to? 33 years old was that was the year for me. That wellness, I fell in love with it.
Wow, that's profound, man. 33, I mean, it's only 3 years removed from myself now.
Yeah.
I remember back in that position, but it's kind of a swing year in time, I would imagine. You're not quite in those 20s, but you're not quite like definitively set on the path that I would think would define who you are today. Like, Could you take me back a little bit before then and talk about how'd you even, ESPN is massive network.
That was a dream job, yeah.
How'd you get to that position?
Ooh, all right. This is a long time. It's a long story.
I'm ready to
There's
go
a long
back.
testimony. So it actually started with me in college. I wanted to be a biology teacher.
Okay.
And I played football at the University of Rhode Island, and I transferred to the University of New Haven. And they didn't have an undergraduate program at the University of New Haven. So my mother was like, used to do this radio station at URI called Smooth Groove in the Afternoon, which was a hit. Playing the Jodeci, the H.
Sound like
you know what I'm saying?
Smooth groove. The way you leaned into that pocket.
Boy, D. Haynes and Smooth Groove in the Afternoon. That's way.
Call in now. Yeah.
Call in right now.
So that's when I switched my major to broadcasting, and now I give 10% of my check to my mother.
Wow.
But that's when it started for me, and the whole ESPN deal. I don't remember the day where I was like, man, that's a dream job. But along the way, during school and stuff like that, I think everybody was like, hey, do you want to get to ESPN one day? And then I started looking into it. I'm like, man, that's a dope job to get.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I got there, man, that's a long story. Well, let me talk about this story. There was a guy by the name of Rob Parker.
Okay.
He had his own radio station, Parker and the Man, out in Detroit. Now you can see him on Fox Sports 1 at sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But during the Super Bowl, I wanted to be on his show. It was called Rob Parker Sports Rap, or Hip Hop and Sports Connect. And I'm running around with my resume tape, a DVD for the people who don't know that anymore. It was a DVD. But
What's that?
Yeah, running around, and he told me after I couldn't find him, he was like, slide it under the door. It was like this blank door, but I slid it under the door, and he ended up giving me my first job, not because he looked at my resume tape, still to this day, because I just saw him in Las Vegas. He still to this day has not looked at my resume tape, but he gave me the job because he noticed the passion I had in trying to be a broadcaster.
Wow.
Now it comes a time I have the job and I'm working at K Jewelers, where I'm basically like, hey, this Pistons game's about to end, lunch break. Drive 90 miles per hour to the Palace of Auburn Hills at the time and quickly do my stand-up, quick interviews. You know, Rasheed Wallace taking an hour to get out of the shower.
Yeah.
Like an hour to get out of the shower.
That's how he's getting it up.
To then all of a sudden doing that and rushing back to K Jewelers and hopefully you don't get fired.
Yeah.
But that was my introduction to the business. And then there's Alpena, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Alpena, Michigan.
I know the rims. I don't know Michigan.
So Alpena is way up north Michigan. It's market 208, one of the smallest markets. There's 2 black people.
Okay.
Myself and some dude we're still trying to look for.
Who was in the market.
Yeah, that's it. There's 2 black people there. Well, now there's only one because I'm not there.
Yeah, you
to Lansing, Michigan, to the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas, San Antonio, Boston, New York, ESPN, and then they had the layoffs at ESPN in 2017, which wasn't like I sucked. They just financial things.
Yeah.
And that's where I became that sports director in DC.
Yeah, WUSA.
That's a quick story.
Yeah.
How I got here.
I mean, it's a hell of a story. I hear a journeyman spirit. I hear determination, and I hear a level of you have to be projecting yourself into the future that you're going through that entire time. And, you know, that's the basis of where we like to come in and try to understand, like, there was times that you got tested in every one of those twists and turns.
Tested is an understatement, dude.
What's some of the things that you relied on to keep you moving forward when you had those opportunities where you had to really dig back in?
Bro, I know it may sound cliche, but God, dude.
No, it's not cliche at all.
Like real talk. Because, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but Boston, I was on a 2-year contract and they didn't want to renew me after 1 year. And still to this day, I saw some of my former coworkers in Las Vegas. I'm like, yo, why didn't they want me my second year? Because I was doing great. Still don't know why they did that. I mean, I have my thoughts about Boston, period. But it makes no sense where an NBC station at the time in Boston didn't want me. And that was March 6th, I believe. And I had to go back to New Haven, Connecticut, where I'm from, sleep in the same twin-size bed I used to sleep in when I was in high school, and go until February 14th the very next year. And so that was a challenge for me where I did not give up faith because I believed in my talent that God gave me. And long and behold, I went from one station not wanting me to the worldwide leader, ESPN, calling me up. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, bro, that was low. You know how embarrassing that is when you're in Boston, you're one of the best reporters and anchors in the country. And I got to go home. Yo, Darren, why are you back home, cuz? And you got to make something up, be like, I'm just here doing a story. But then, I all love to, remember when Al Jazeera America started?
Yeah, for
in
sure.
New York was like kind of like sort of diagonal across the Madison Square Garden, but they they hired me on a national platform as a freelancer. And I think that's what really kind of like pushed ESPN, like, let's give this guy the opportunity. But that was a grind, man. I don't want anybody to go through that.
I think that's a necessary grind, man, a necessary step, you know? And I think a lot about, we talked before off the camera, but we met in college at LIU, Brooklyn, Tony and I. And I'm not going to lie, I had no idea what Connecticut was when I grew up. Like, until I came to Brooklyn, people was like, yo, I'm from Connecticut. I was like, oh, what's that, like 6 hours away? It was like, fam, it's an hour and a half, 3 hours. What are you talking about?
I mean, if that to the border.
If that, like, I was like, for real? But I say all that to say I met friends that was from New Haven. You know, now it was on the hood side, you know, pistol waving.
Pistol waving, misbehaving New Haven.
Pistol waving New Haven.
I'm mad you know that.
That's what I'm trying. When you said that,
Yo,
that's what
that
popped
is a
in my
real
head.
thing. Pistol waving, misbehaving New Haven.
So
don't
now
go by
you-
the Popeyes. I mean, if you're on Yale's campus, don't go by the Popeyes. That's
I
the
rode
borderline.
past. I was like, that's Yale? Like Yale? And
Then
it was
you pass
like,
the
yeah.
Popeyes, then you're like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
all right, let's lock
okay.
these doors.
Got real.
Okay,
Let's
all
roll
right.
the window up. Now, I bring you to this point because not only do you go there, but then you come out on top after going back home. So I just wanted you to stretch out or at least speak to what it was like growing up in Connecticut and what made you leave, what made you come back, and what made you leave again.
So I had a group of 9 friends when I was growing up. And I'm not going to drop their names, but a couple of them are dead. One had, 2 of them served time. One served fed time. The dude who actually served fed time, I remember when I came back to the University of New Haven, when I came back from URI, he was like, man, you got to stop hanging out with your old boys. And he's like, you got to focus on this. Like, almost like he saw something in myself, but me, I kind of didn't want to, like, you know, betray your old friends. Because I didn't see at the time that what they were doing wasn't going to make me better. And that was hard, man.
Yeah.
Like, that was hard. Because, I mean, you're at UNH. They got a party on a Friday. Best believe they're going to show up.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And so I had to make that tough decision to kind of like leave the nest I was in. That's where it lucked out, because University of New Haven, I went to 3 schools. The University of New Haven dropped their football program. And they brought it back, but that allowed some school, Wayne State University, to come out and say, hey, we want you to play ball there. And so that's when I went to Detroit, because I looked at the market. I was like, man, they have the Pistons, the Lions, Red Wings. And so that's where I finally got that opportunity to go out. But that's hard, man. I think a lot of times, like, how lucky I actually was. Dude, they call it pistol waving, misbehaving for a reason. It's one of the most dangerous cities.
That's why I brought it up. Like, I know.
Like, I think football, I was telling a friend earlier today, because I was walking up at my parents' house, and I was like, man, this is where I used to have these, like, backyard football games. Dude, football was literally the ticket to get me to where I am right now.
Wow.
If I didn't think about it, though, because that gave me the full ride to school. It got me out. You know, if I didn't have that, who knows where the education would have been. I don't know. I wasn't dumb, but still, it got me out of the state to experience something else. And that was football. If I didn't know football, if I didn't play like that, would I be able to do my job right now? Will I be so well-versed where I can relate to players because I played the game? Like, that literally, actually go back to 8 years old. Son, come on, we're going to go play some football real quick. Oh, I don't want to play. No, come on, let's go. Literally, that decision that my dad made changed my entire life. Real talk.
That's powerful, man. Powerful. And you brought up the notion of being able to relate to players because you played the game.
Yeah.
I could see in some of the what I would call the human interest pieces that it's not just inside of the scope of football, but it extends into,
I like to humanize them.
yes. Where does that lens come from?
I don't know. I think there's a mixture of some of the mentors I've had growing up. Like Stuart Scott was a huge mentor of mine.
Yeah.
Scott Van Pelt, Jay Harris. There was also a guy named Kurt Davis, who was a news director in San Antonio at the time. But they help instill all these things in me. Oh, matter of fact, even Snoop Dogg. Like, I'm in LA. This is ESPN though, but Snoop was like, he's like, man, you know, you can always do good stuff with the black people, but like, how well versed are you to where you can have a conversation with an Asian person, an Indian person, a white person, and make your stories just as good? You need to be well versed so everybody likes you. Like, so all those things, like, almost like I was a sponge taking that all in, and then it developed me into who I am now. So I don't think there was like a day where I was like, man, I got it. I think it was a gradual thing, but I love humanizing athletes because they are humans, and we look at them, we just think of the X's and O's. But dude, they eat and poop just like us. They put on, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you can see the reception when you recognize them for more than just the function that they do. How more like just receptive they are for whatever line of questioning that you want to go into. Can you go back to possibly some of like your earliest stories that you're starting to talk to athletes on the field or in their hometowns? Can you remember like that first interview that you did that was kind of like, oh yeah, this is going to be the thing. This is going to be the ticket for me?
I already got one. I'm just trying to think if there's another one. Y'all remember Johnny Manziel?
Manziel, yeah,
of course,
yeah, sure.
Quarterback.
So, yeah,
Draft
Heisman Trophy
day.
winner. Yeah,
Johnny Manziel.
So I do remember being in Texas, and he was in high school, and I remember trying to get your sources and your connections with players and stuff like that. And I did this recruiting story with this guy named Malcolm Brown, who was a running back for the Rams for a little bit. I think Malcolm may be in Miami now.
Mm-hmm.
But it was Johnny Manziel, and then it was another tight end guy. But we did this recruitment story on them. But I'm in their house, you know, the mom making the spread with the food and just having that overall just normal conversation about recruiting. Because I remember being recruiting, and that was that one time where I was just like, yeah, this is how we're humanizing them to really get a perspective of what life is like as a blue chip athlete. So that's one that I can really remember. I'm sure there's a lot more, but that was the first one that comes to my head.
I mean,
Manziel was a freak of nature, bro.
Yeah,
Bro,
the
I've
hype
never
coming
seen
into
dude
it
take
was up
over
there.
a game like that.
Huh.
I wish he had a better NFL career, but dude, everything I wish I could do in high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely understand it. I got a chance to catch one where you did with a speed skater. I'm trying to remember where she was
Mami
from.
Biney, the first African American woman to be a Olympic speed skater on the U.S. team.
Yeah, and just the way her father received you, and then you tying together the whole story between, you know, her
Ghana,
mom
like
from Ghana, and then everybody coming together. Like it was something that I was like, okay, there's a different intention behind why you're covering this story right now.
So, and see, this is what I love about just doing stories. Period. There are a lot of reporters that will just put the mic in your face and they'll get their little sound bite and get out of there. For me, there's also an importance of the telling their story the right way so they like it.
Right.
Like I like doing a story and then they call up and they're like, man, you really put that story together. Dwayne Haskins, he was a football player for Washington at one point. Then he went to the Steelers. He was just recently hit by a dump truck down in Florida. I can remember his father sort of like, who are you? What do you do? And then you have to kind of build that relationship and that trust. And he trusted me to do that story. And, you know, when after that story was done, they're like, man, this is one of the greatest pieces you ever did on my son. And he's coming from Ohio State where, you know, tons of people did stories on him. And when he passed, they told me that he was like, man, that was the last like family thing that we did together.
Wow.
And so now it's going to be that memory that they have for years to come while their son is now dead.
I mean, just from a journalist perspective or from the broadcasting perspective, did you ever imagine that this would be the type of things or that type of impact would be something that you would be able to imbue on people's lives?
Did I like write it down as a goal?
Yeah.
No. I just know I wanted to be the best.
Okay.
And that's the football mentality.
Yeah.
Like I'm a silent killer. Like I'm not going to go in and be like, yo, I'm 11-time Emmy Award-winning, man. I got 22 AP awards. Like did I just flex?
I like it. Just a little bit.
Give them the
Let the people know.
Just
say it with your chest.
But the Emmy Awards are those are the big ones.
Yeah.
But like I have this silent killer mentality where you can do your old news story, other stations and stuff like that, but like I'm gonna be quiet and I'm gonna kick butt in this story that I'm about to do. Like the Emmy Award stuff, right? So when I left ESPN, I didn't leave ESPN. When they
I like
tell it how you need to tell it, man.
We going through that one.
When I got laid off from ESPN, I went into DC and I was like, I remember telling my wife, man, I was like, I refuse to let these local dudes beat me out. Like I'm gonna try to win every single award that I can. That's the mentality I've always had my entire life. As a little kid, had an older brother, always trying to, you know, beat him out and stuff like that, from basketball to football. I always thrived on the competition. Always thrived on it. But I'm silent. I don't say much. And then you win Best Sports Anchor Award Emmy category 5 straight years. And now ESPN's like, we'll welcome you back, which is a quote, which is a direct quote.
Nice.
But yeah, that's where that comes from, like that grind to be the best. Like I want to be the best. If you're benching 300 pounds, best believe I'm gonna put 315 on there.
I like it.
If I can do it or not, but I'm gonna make it happen.
It's gonna get up.
I'm gonna have that, that struggle in the back arching.
It'll get up.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it up somehow.
I love the tenacity, man. It reminds me just of all the great things that I got from sport, and all of the good camaraderie that comes from there. And I just feel motivated just even hearing about that, brother. So I'm just really appreciative of everything that you're sharing there. The purpose, the passion, everything coming together.
No doubt.
See, now I want to take it back a little bit because I'm putting the pieces of this puzzle together.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm correct, your pops put that football in your hand at 8.
Mm-hmm.
Later in college, moms hit you with you need to get your broadcasting game on because they love the radio.
Smooth groove in the afternoon.
Smooth groove in the afternoon.
And who's that K? Every kiss begins with K.
Let me get to it. Oh, let me get to it. So then you go to Detroit, right? And every kiss begins with K. You stealing my lines, brother.
Bad.
Come on, man. You stealing the show. Now,
sounds like an endorsement.
Mixing all of that with the accomplishments in sport, right? I would want to ask, what lessons were learned back then that you still apply right now?
One, to not take your job for granted. No, these little young dudes are coming in with some new fire.
Yeah.
And here's a competitive side of me. Like, I'm gonna keep bringing that fire. Like, you can bring the fire you want, but I'm like, oh, okay, you did that. All right, do that plus 2. Also, the value of relationships, the who you know. I got to ESPN having Big Papi, Doc Rivers on my resume, on my reference sheet. You know what I mean?
It's a hell of a reference.
Yeah, you know what I mean? When I was in San Antonio, I had Greg Popovich and Iceman George Gervin, like on my reference sheet. But that came from the relationships that I learned a long time ago and how valuable those are. And I'm this dude who I learned at a very young age that don't just stick the mic in someone's face and that be the only conversation. Like when you're waiting around to speak to somebody, it could be somebody getting dressed. Maybe it's a lineman. Just hold a conversation. Hey, where are you from? And that's how you build that rapport. Next, when there's a big story, he knows you. Mm-hmm. She knows you, not the other strangers. So the likelihood of you getting this better story than everybody else are highly work in your favor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see, at least in the generation that's coming up after you and coming into fruition now, that urgency to get right to the story or to get right to the spotlight and not necessarily appreciate all the interceding steps that you had to get to where you are today.
Yeah.
Be able to build those relationships and that kind of thing. And
there's a lot of people who are going to say no along the way.
Yeah.
I learned that. Matter of fact, we're talking about K Jewelers.
Yeah.
I'm going to say his name.
Put it out there.
When I put it, I'm going to say it to the camera. What camera are we on here?
You're right.
On 3?
Yeah, you're on 3.
When I put my 2 weeks in to leave K Jewelers to enter into the broadcasting business full time, the district manager, Ali Alian, said, you want to say it again?
Say it again.
One more time.
Ali Alian said, I remember this like it was yesterday. Why are you getting into the broadcasting business? The broadcasting business is too difficult. You'll never make it.
Wow.
Bruh. Remember, I'm a dude who likes to prove people wrong. And so that ended up being my last day. Woo. I didn't even work the 2 weeks. Like I gave them the deuces and
that's the 2 you get.
And I really
I'm going.
And still to this day, man, I truly hope like when it was at ESPN or even now, like he's just, all right, let me sit down, watch the new hey, I'm Darren Hank. And you know what I'm saying? And he has that moment like,
wait a second.
Is that the same? Yes, Ali Alian. Bro, like it was yesterday.
I'd be sending
Don't
him.
ever tell somebody they can't do that.
He would have got a picture of every one of the awards. Be like, yo, what we up to right now?
Yo,
man.
I've looked them up on Facebook,
Send
Twitter,
him a Christmas
Instagram,
card every year.
Black Planet, AOL Instant Messenger, MySpace.
Not Black Planet.
I looked them up.
We search.
I can't find it. There's a lot of Ali Alians in the world. That's what makes it hard. But yeah, I can't believe he told me that, man.
We go find. Shout out to Ali over there.
Yeah.
For the motivation.
Thanks for the motivation. Get your weight up, man. Keep moving. Yeah. So the no's that come, you got the fortitude because of all the things that you had leading up to that. Is there any point in time that you were working with these different networks or these different entities that you started thinking about your own personal brand as this is something that I need to develop?
That I hope it wasn't too late in my career, because I always had a creative mind.
Mm-hmm.
People were always like, well, why do you do it this way? Oh, that's weird. That's different. Then now I hear them now, and they're like, oh, I see what you were doing.
Yeah.
But I really didn't really see myself like, this is my brand, until probably the last year and a half at ESPN, where the way ESPN was, and once again, I appreciate everything they gave me. Like, working at ESPN is like a Hall of Fame jacket. Like, you be introduced, Darren Haynes, sports director, former SportsCenter anchor. Like, it's a Hall of Fame jacket that nobody can ever take away from me. But SportsCenter was like a square, and I was an octagon, and they were trying to fit this octagon in this square. And so that last year and a half, I had that moment with this guy named Jack Obringer who works at ESPN, and I was like, dude, I gotta be me, man. Like, I can't let this. Like, I can't fake it anymore. I really need to be me. And then I just started doing what I do now on television. And so when I left, once again, I didn't leave ESPN. But when I went into DC, they were just like, we saw you on SportsCenter, do your thing. That's when the D. Haynes brand became like official. And so now, like, when we have meetings at work, there could be a lot of stuff going on with the investigation with the team, whether toxic workplace culture or just the football side in general, all the sports, with Bradley Beal and his contract at the time. You're trying to do so many things where a former news director was like, well, maybe you should just focus on maybe these two things rather than doing all four of them. And I told him, I was like, my brand is to make sure I know about everything and the people expect me to talk about it. Like, that's my brand. My brand is to know everything. My brand is to break the stories. My brand is to come up with all these unique story ideas that if you don't care about sports, I still got to have you watching because you've never seen sports done in a certain way before. So that's my brand. Yeah. It's probably one of the blessings of getting laid off. Matter of fact, I was telling people this weekend, getting laid off from ESPN was probably the best thing that happened for my career.
When did you realize that?
Maybe after the third year, something like that. Because I'm so blessed, dude, to have like these young journalists like, man, I look up to you. My news director, because we're in Vegas for the National Association of Black Journalists, and we're doing contract negotiations. I'm on the final year of my contract year, and
all out now.
It's about to get real, and I was like, man, like there are a lot of people who recognize what we do, and I was like, let's walk around the career fair one time, and I was like, I bet you any money someone says something about what I do. And we walk around, and one person comes up like, man, Darren, what's going on, bro? Like, straight up, bro, you're the GOAT, man. Like, listen, I'm not Scott Van Pelt, who's a different kind of GOAT. But people recognize that a lot of the ways I do sports, nobody else does it that way. I don't know, man. I don't even know where I was getting to, but it's humbling, man. Bro, I would have never thought like I would be in this position. Nah, dude.
It's a beautiful spot to be in. I mean, anytime you get to be yourself and be represented as yourself in the thing that you love to do, has to be fulfilling.
Not work. I'm telling you right now that it is not work. Inspiring other people, like being on the show, that's not work for me. It's what I love to do. When you're passionate about something, you make time for it. That's why I make time for this, because it's what I'm passionate about.
Wow.
Giving back to the community that raised me, even though I'm not from New York, but yet this show, you can watch it anywhere. It's you know what I mean? You can watch it anywhere. So who knows who could be watching this in, Topeka, Kansas. You know what I mean? But
we got some Sri Lankan fans too.
We do have some Sri Lankan people. Shout out to Sri Lanka.
We international, brother. I don't know if you know.
All right, my bad. I'm Monrovia, Liberia.
Right? Shout out to the London folk. We got a few.
What's up?
But so in that, there's just so many different little pieces that I'm awestruck about. You getting to be yourself, you getting to kind of carve out your own lane, putting your own personality into the product that you're seeing now, and living in it. still trying to find that path for somebody who might just be starting out there and they're trying to find their way in there. Now, was there any times that you felt like you had to change who you were in order to advance?
Hell yeah.
Okay, talk to me a little bit about
when they made me shave my dang on facial hair off.
how did you get past that point?
Facial hair, and you gotta wear your tie and your suit a certain way. Now we all know that was a different time period where that was probably more like a systemic issue.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like what we thought was like the norm wasn't the norm for everybody else. Like if I can go on air with this V-neck T-shirt on, back in the day, to be like, what the hell are you doing?
First of all, let's just give him some props over here too, because I've seen the V-neck and the blazer combos. He's putting some pressure out there on the rest of these anchors, Kyle.
All the time.
You got
every time. I seen him hooping in the suit,
the cut
on the set
with the church shoes on,
with the Stacey Adams on. You know what I'm saying? The hard bottoms. You know
but the cuts to the suits is a modern cut. You know,
sure.
Sometimes the other brother anchors that you see out there, man, they still a little loose.
Got the Steve Harvey joint. Yeah.
They're not really giving it up the same way. Is all I'm saying. So we gotta salute the brilliance when you see it. You know what I mean?
Shout out to my boy Vino who works with Miguel Wilson in his clothing line and stuff like that. They hooked me up with some stylish stuff. Paisley and Gray too, man.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
Came in with it. So I see that, and you having to stay the course or make some adjustments and then deciding that you can stay your course and come up with your own style. That I'm imagining came later in the career, but what were some of those things that earlier on tested you when you had to kind of conform to what they were doing in that square octagon situation?
Boston. I remember them saying like, hey, you use your hands too much, keep them down. And
hold on.
Hello, I'm reporting out. Remember, like, Telly, Trevor from Fresh Prince, Hilly's boyfriend.
Stiff.
Hello, I'm outside of TD Garden. The Celtics taking out. Yeah, like, what my thing is still to this day, man, because you have to accept people for who they are and embrace their differences rather than scrutinize them.
Yeah.
And when I talk to people, I use my hands. So why, if you want me to be natural and conversational, why would you want me to be stiff? Then you're not really your true self, and people can identify that. So that was one of those times where like I had to battle trying to be myself, and they wanted something different. The facial hair thing, like, dude, I remember talking to a guy by the name of Bill Ganello. He passed away, but he worked for News 12 in Norwalk.
Okay.
And I was like, man, do you think I should shave the facial hair? And he's like, don't give these news directors an excuse not to hire you. So it was almost like, you know the poem "We Wear the Mask" by Paul Laurence Dunbar?
I heard you speak of this before.
Yeah, so Paul Laurence Dunbar, "We Wear the Mask," that poem is basically talking about Black people, and we really can't express how we truly feel. So we put on this mask to sort of kind of, we fit in like, hey, we're all good, everything's happy, but underneath our mask, we really are not true to ourselves. We're sad because we can't be ourselves. And so like, that was that moment all throughout my career of not having any facial hair on, always dressing the way they thought people should dress, was me wearing that mask. And I wonder now, like, for these young journalists, should they do the same? And my first thing would be like, always be yourself. But I also tell them, like, feel the room out. You know what I mean? Like you have to sort of find yourself almost like a chameleon, where you need to change a little bit, still stay true to yourself, but like know your audience. And yeah, because it's a tough place where people judge you, man, or they have a perception of you. And once they have that perception of you, like, it's hard for them to change it.
You get one first impression.
But once you solidify like respect in the game, nah, dude. Like, I'm not shaving my facial hair. Like, matter of fact, when I went to DC, they're like, would you consider shaving my facial hair? I said no. like no. What do you mean?
Let's get that out the contract right now.
Yeah, no, I'm not shaving my facial hair. For what? What does that do? Think about it. What does facial hair do?
I mean, you know, as a struggling follicle person over on my side.
Are you struggling? You
As
can't,
the follically
you can't get it to
challenged?
connect. It doesn't connect.
That's not the man you talk to about facial hair. You're gonna keep him over there.
This is where it starts to swim a little bit above,
I mean,
you know,
have
where
no
I
problem.
So also one of the
Hair
reasons,
transplant, give you some of them
yeah.
That's all I need.
just to connect the joint.
You know, you want to see brothers help each other, lift each other up, you know?
That's just terrible in the pandemic. I would never. But, you know, sliding past him and his lack of facial hair. We brought up Paul Laurence Dunbar, man, and that is one of the prominent schools in Baltimore that, like, for sports. Like, my grandmother taught there. That's where Muggsy Bogues went.
Yeah.
It's a lot of basketball legacy out of there, and I was not aware of that poem, but now I got to go back to it. You know?
It's dope, man, and it's real.
No, and
Like, it's, think about it though.
For sure.
Like, if we went into corporate America, the first thing we'll do, because it's just like it's in our blood. It's like our natural reaction, because of that fear of not accepting us or who we are. We kind of oh shoot, hello. Well, no, I don't get like that, but you know what I mean?
Of course.
Like you feel that energy where you can't really truly be yourself. That's you putting that mask on. But we're in a stage now, like, I dare you to like scrutinize me. Like I dare you, you know what I'm saying? Times have changed now.
It definitely has. And I mean, so it was a defense mechanism, right? So I also heard you speak a little bit about interaction that you had where somebody pulled you out of your car one time, right?
Ooh, bro, we're in New York.
I lived that.
Here.
I lived that. You don't even have to tell me. I've had that exact same situation, and had not it been for the grace of having a police card in my like a badge. My uncle was a detective, so he had like a little badge inside there that I kept in my glove box. It could have been a whole different set of circumstances.
Man, I'm glad you brought that up.
So to see you talk with confidence about your experience in light of some of the hardest
didn't happen like that
places
at first.
Talk to me about
that. That happened January 1st, 2014. And geez, right here in New York, man. He said, get out or get effed up. And I didn't get a chance to even answer the question or do anything. And I remember that happening, and they put me in the jail cell, you know, where them holding joints down there.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't know if you guys been down there, but I was down there. And it was the New Year, so you're there all day. And I didn't know there was actually a judge that would come on New Year's Day because it was a holiday, but they actually had a judge there. But I was afraid to tell ESPN what happened because I thought they would judge me in a way where they're like, oh, this kid is bad. But really, I was the victim. And if it weren't for Colin Kaepernick, I don't know if I ever would have really shared that story. I mean, maybe after George Floyd protests. There's been other reasons,
right?
But it was Kaepernick was the first time I went on air and I shared my story about that and had no fear behind it because I was afraid for them to know. I got my lawyer because they dismissed all the charges, but I was like, make sure that joint is gone because I don't want them thinking I'm some bad person. But I was the victim, man.
Yeah.
Think of that mindset, dude. I'm the victim getting beaten up by police, but I'm afraid to like talk about it because I think I'm gonna get in trouble.
That's what
the harsh
code,
reality.
Yeah, and that's why that code switching exists, because you're trying to protect all the other things that you know are going to be so much bigger than this moment, right? And somebody, for whatever reason, whatever they're going through, is now the judge, the jury, and unfortunately the executioner in way too many of our cases.
Yeah.
So when you can speak to that the way that you did and just see that whole, now taking that analogy of the mask and coming back in there, you're taking the mask off, brother.
Yeah.
And you're able to tell people stories that are, at least in my age demographic, is way too commonplace in New York City.
Absolutely.
This was
they got the dash cameras on the cars yet?
They have that now, but I'm talking about this.
I know they talked
Giuliani era. This was anything goes.
Bro, there were no dash cameras when it happened to me in 2014.
Yeah,
I know they were talking about putting them on, but I don't know if they have them on now.
I mean,
they're getting away with a lot of stuff.
And unfortunately, it still doesn't, deter all of that behavior. And again, to see how it permeates at every level of our existence is something that is it shakes us to the foundation, but it also just testimony to look at the strength that you needed to get to be able to speak about this, to see that this is a national effort that's happening, and you can have the freedom to show up how you want to show up.
Yeah,
in there.
man, I was proud to do that and got a lot of positive feedback from it. Don't get me wrong, there was those Kaepernick people.
Absolutely.
I mean, the anti-Kaepernick people who
push back, they burn the Nikes, they doing all of that.
But I was on the right side of history in that.
Yeah.
Man, I remember I was in North Carolina for a friend of mine's wedding, and I was going down there. It was in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina. I had to rent a car. I'm like, I'm gonna rent a Fiat because I feel like a black man.
Bro, what? Oh, that was the motivation to get in a Fiat?
Black man in a Fiat is causing no problem.
Nah.
In North Carolina,
you twice, like
right?
What?
So it's me and two of my homies that were all in this Fiat. Keep in mind, we all 6 feet and over.
Y'all like clowns in the clown car.
Knees and elbows the whole time.
It's North Carolina is dark, windy roads.
Yeah.
The speed limit changes in certain spaces. So 1 minute it could be 30, the next minute it could be 55.
Yep.
Right? So a car is creeping. I'm like, man, let me go around this car. I go around the car. And as soon as I go around the car, the whoop, whoop, lights get pulled over. And as we get pulled over, the police officers it was 3 cars that pulled up.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, it was 1 and 3 and 2 more came. We're like, oh damn, we got 3 cars now. It was like, asked us to get out the car and all that stuff, and they started talking to us. And you talked about having a conversation with people. And I grew up in a law enforcement family. Like my mother's a probation officer, my pops was a police officer for years. Like I know how to talk.
Yeah.
In that space, like that's a privilege though.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't have that.
Correct.
So I'm talking to them. They were so amazed that we were 3 young black professionals. It was like, yo, y'all look like we thought y'all was a clown car, all y'all getting out of there. And they was like, well, what do you do? I'm like, well, I manage a yoga studio at the time. Mm-hmm. My homie's a mental health counselor, and then my other homie worked at Yelp, right? Yeah. So they're like, wait, y'all do this in New York? You're like, y'all all have careers? Their mind was blown. But it's like that situation could have went left.
Heck yeah.
Had I not been personable.
Judged you.
They already judged me.
Mm-hmm.
They asked me if I had any guns or drugs in the car. I said, bro, we barely fit in this car.
If you had a gun, you got tied to the roof.
But like that joke like opened it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's me being me in that space, and that's not always the case. You know?
Man.
But it's moments like that just like, man, one thing could have went left, man. But just taking it back to the journey that you've been on, like you've succeeded all of these expectations, so to speak. Like you've shattered what seems to be every goal that you had in mind. So selfishly to me, some. I don't know all the goals.
I've checked off a lot of boxes.
So in the process of checking off those boxes, what is left on that list? You know what I mean? Like, what does success look like for D. Haynes, for the brand?
All right, there's 2 different sides of that.
Okay.
Professional wise, my man JB, James Brown, that's my boy. Brother, when you retire one day, I would love to do the halftime and post-game NFL shows.
Okay.
I know there's a long line, but JB, you're my boy.
Pass the torch.
Yeah. Write something nice and pass it along.
Yeah.
That's the new dream job for me. There's other things in there that I know that I can do. So that's the career-wise. Personal-wise, man, I'll love to see my family get to a point where, owning a whole bunch of different homes in different areas where that, that income's coming in. All you may need to do is okay, I'll get this person because your toilet's stopped up,
Yeah.
Or man, this is weird, man. I love Waffle House, and I looked into opening up a franchise.
Okay.
In Connecticut, but for some reason, man, they don't come up here. They're not up here. So I may not want to invest in a Waffle House now, but I love to own a chain of restaurants or something like that. These are all things that I want to look into as I learn more about this generational wealth on how to make money when you're not actually working.
Passive income is important.
Yeah. And I can give a lot of credit to my wife because her father is a real estate agent.
Okay.
And so remember, I was like, my mom and dad were great parents. Mother was a teacher for 52 years. My dad was one of the only black people to own a contracting business in New Haven.
Wow.
But nothing was ever taught. Nobody ever taught me hey, you should invest your money in this, or hey, buy multiple homes. My dad actually owned a second home, but he never came to me and told me about it. I should get on him and be like, Dad, why don't you ever tell me? Sorry, son. But yeah, those are certain things that when I look into the future, I want to be living good. So my daughter who's right here, she's gonna learn, she's gonna have the more she's gonna know the right from wrong and make sure she works hard as heck. But she lives a better life. My ceiling will be her floor.
Yeah.
My parents' ceiling is my floor, and I want to build on top of that.
That's the way it should be, man. And I mean, I'm coming out of that generation where it was a little bit taboo to talk about finances in the home front for a while, because I think because you didn't have anything, you didn't really understand, or at least in my standpoint, didn't really understand that. So it's we might have to borrow from here to pay for this, and go for here to do something else. So now I think that this whole renaissance of people being financially literate and being able to see optionality and what success could look like, and being able to hear about somebody speaking boldly and confidently about, well, home ownership is a thing, franchisees is a thing, all of these different sources of income. Having one is too close to none. Shout out to brother Winston over there.
Winston Pete.
Yeah. So if you're already starting these conversations. I don't know how early you are in embedding that information. I can guarantee you that you're already changing that generation, my friend.
Oh man.
So I'm happy to see that.
And my daughter knows you're talking about her right now.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit mad that I didn't get the the invite for the whole
the Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A side, but next time we can make that out. We can get it situated.
I should have sent out a message. Hey, you guys want Chick-fil-A? Man, I ended up getting a ticket too, man.
Oh man,
New York is quick.
It's
like I was in there 5 minutes. I'm like, dang, really? And the tickets aren't cheap.
That's how they get you.
It's like that's a $75.
That's him getting out right there in that suit.
It's like, like,
he got it.
We just slide it right here, in and out. But so I want to come back to just some of you and putting into your presentation some of your own style and your own artistry. Do you get a chance to write some of your own scripts or like the skits that you're doing? Okay.
And believe it or not, people at ESPN, they write 90% of their stuff.
Wow.
Because they want it to be in their voice. Now, when you have like the stats, like, I don't know, X, Y, and Z, like Aaron Judge hit this,
exactly,
this, and the first time since 1822, some stuff like that. There's researchers that'll give you that, but you can type them up, put it in your voice. But 90% of it, and right now, 100% of what you see on television, I write and produce that. So everything that you've seen on TV, from the singing thing, to that's all my creative ideas. And it's crazy because sometimes I'm in studio, I'm like, all right, have the camera here, and you start there. You walk in at this time. After I say Washington, you walk like I'm what they call studio producing. Yeah. And they're like, wait, what do you want to do? What? And I'm like, just trust me. And then finally, when they put it together and they see the finished product, they're like, oh, I see what you mean.
See, you're a running back, but you calling them plays like a QB over there, man. Right. I like it.
It's artwork, man. I
could see. I could see it coming together.
Creative mind and just trying to be different than the boring, like, stiff news people.
I like that. I like that a lot. And it's something that, again, aspirational on this side. So we had to borrow some inspiration coming inside here. I needed to know how you came up with this whole suited and booted kind of concept. Because, again, dapper gentleman over here, I see you making these play-by-play calls on some people's outfits. And, we talk about outfits from time to time.
Oh, word? Y'all got your own suited and booted?
I mean, we don't have a suited and booted, but we do make some color commentary from some questionable gym fits.
Gotcha.
So I wanted to pull up a picture real quick. Brother Dave, you can get me set up over on that side. I just want to get some quick reactions to the gym edition of Suited and Booted, right? So I want to see how some of these brothers, if you could, can you make that a little bit bigger over there?
Is that The Rock?
There we go. Okay, so we got Anthony Mackie, Dwayne Johnson, and the good brother Marky Mark inside here. So some familiar faces. These guys have been inside the gyms over here. Now, they all also have very different gym fits on right now.
Clearly. Well, I mean, dude, if you're The Rock, dog,
you can wear whatever you want.
You can show up to the set naked, and people will be like, "All right, that's cool."
That's
like,
his fit.
Yeah, that's the fit.
You know what I mean? Not.
Ain't nobody gonna stop him.
Heck no. And you can't talk junk about whatever he has on.
Yeah,
because his deltoid is bigger than your head.
Right. So it's the Brahma Bull, the Zubas, everything else is like, for The Rock, we're just gonna leave him on an island by himself. Do you have anything for Anthony Mackie or Marky Mark over here? Are they suited and booted? Is this a proper gym fit to come in with?
The old school 90s look.
I was gonna get that 80s, you know what I'm saying? That's cocaine 80s, right?
So the cocaine's in the bag.
Yeah, for sure.
So, little fanny pack
packages in the bag.
Cocaine's on the right, and Marky Marks has the money.
Right.
That's we're watching a drug deal go down, and the Rock is the bodyguard. Like nothing.
This could be an excerpt from a movie. They're not going to the gym. This is like.
But yeah, I'm booting the 90s gear, man.
Okay.
Actually, real talk. The Adidas joint that Marky Mark has on, I can rock with that, man.
That's pretty smooth.
Yeah.
You can't be mad.
I'm not too flashy.
The fact that he has on the best outfit out of the both of them is problematic.
So we got to boot Anthony Mackie.
Have on an outfit because he barely has anything on.
I feel like Anthony,
but his pants look 90s like too.
That's what I was about to say. I feel like Anthony's getting thrown underneath the bus because he was clearly following The Rock, but he didn't have The Rock aesthetic to pull the rest of that off.
But actually, if you think about it, Marky, I mean, technically, they're actually all in the same decade.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a little 80s.
He got DMC with the foreign. Yeah, I can see it.
Like, they going to an old school party.
So I just wanted to get that quick reaction off of that side, man. Thank you, Brother Dave. I appreciate it.
And suit, boot, and boot.
Suit, boot, and boot.
See, yeah, man, that suited or booted start. My boy, when we used to go to conferences, he's like, man, I'm going to come in suited and booted. And that was when I got that idea. So suited and booted was more just the whole style of
fit,
you looking
the
nice.
Yeah.
And so when I came up with the segment, I was like, well, boot it's kind of like you know, get it
him
out
out.
of here. So let's do something if you suit it or if you boot it.
Mm-hmm.
And people love it, man.
Yeah, some of the pregame outfits are a little crazy, man.
Yo, Kyle Kuzma has been like
That's a wild boy right
He
there.
came in with the extra long sleeves.
Yeah, he has
Balenciaga.
made that segment strong.
Yes.
Like I should give him like checks for that. You know what I mean?
I remember the sweater that was longer than the
That's
arm.
the
pink
Balenciaga.
one.
He was going for it.
Yeah.
He's-
What, a Huggy? Snuggie?
Day one model. Next thing you know, you America's Next Top Model yourself.
You gotta pull it out from top to top, man. But yeah, I like the fact that you're observant on the court, off the court, on the field, like all of that stuff. Is it easier for you to follow some sports than others?
Yeah, so I don't like watching golf.
Uh-huh.
I can watch it in person though. Golf is boring to me. I think in this career though, in order for you to survive at the top, you have to be well-rounded and know everything. Like I took a lot of pride in being the black guy who knew hockey. Should I share the story about the hockey joint?
I mean,
Man,
come on
lay it
now.
out there.
So
man.
I'm at ESPN, and they kept giving the other anchor the hockey segments. And I'm like, yo, why they keep giving the other anchor
What's homie name? Barry Melrose?
Barry Melrose? Yeah.
Bro, he be on every one, man.
He is great at what he does because he can you can anchor something with Barry and be like, all right, Capitals, Red Wings. And he's be like, yeah, that's Pavel Datsyuk doing it. Like it's like he can look at every single player and recognize who they are and just give you the play-by-play. All you got to just do is say, like, just name the two teams. So it's easy to just set the stage and lay out what we call in broadcasting and let him do the rest of the work.
Wow.
But this guy kept giving the other segment to someone else, and I pulled him to the side. I was like, why do you always give the hockey segments to the other anchor? And he said straight up, he was like, do you like hockey? Now, I received that in one way. I don't know if he knew how I received that, but I received that as in, okay, black people don't like hockey, so he assumed that I probably don't like hockey. I just came from Boston. Also had to work in New York, so I had to know hockey.
Good amount of
Rangers.
hockey.
So yeah, and I worked in Detroit when the Red Wings were really good. So I knew hockey. But what I did was I was like, give me the next hockey segment. And I already studied a decent amount, but I remember going through it took like 2 weeks. I went through every single name on every team to learn how to make sure I pronounced it the correct way. So when there was like a Pavel Datsyuk or Yaroslav Halak, I knew how to pronounce their names. Or when a goalie's playing really well, he's standing on his head or the puck goes through his legs as a 5-hole. Like, I studied the heck out of that to be the black guy who knew hockey. And when Barry Melrose and I did our segment, it was Barry's Bistro to go, because it was already a Barry's Bistro, but we did ours to go, where we had basically like the to-go cups, and then like the paper bag with your food in there and stuff like that. Ours was like the hood version.
Yeah.
I like it.
It was DoorDash before DoorDash. But yeah, so it became my segment for the rest of my time there. But all that studying to even know what a wicket is in cricket, like you have to be a fan of every single team. Or like for me, I'm a UConn basketball fan. I can name players and where they're from. You should know that about every single team. It's hard to do that.
For sure.
Because there's a player out there. I mean, there's a person out there. Like if you pronounce that guy's name wrong, you're gonna lose your credibility.
Oh yeah.
So study all of it. So I ended up becoming a fan of a lot of different sports. I can watch baseball and enjoy it. I can watch tennis and enjoy it. Golf, I gotta see that in person. That just takes on. If Tiger Woods is playing, that's different. But other than that, I can't. I'll read the article, man. I'll see the recap.
Yeah. Golf is a little tricky. I feel like baseball is tricky too. My father always tried to get me into
No,
it.
when you at the game,
And the game is completely
it's amazing.
That same thing with hockey.
On TV,
Hockey, yeah.
baseball's a little.
I got into hockey during the Sean Avery era in New York hockey.
Okay.
Mighty Ducks.
Mighty Ducks is also a
Was the
different
intro
time.
for me.
Knuckle Puck.
Knuckle Puck, the Flying V. You know what I'm saying? That's what got me.
Yeah, he used to work out at the space that we started training in, and would be a complete calm, nice dude. I think he lived upstairs in the building.
Yeah.
Very nice guy, like into fashion. He was really big in the New York fashion scene. But then you see him play on the actual ice. It was like, that can't be the same guy.
Yeah.
He's like, he was just at the Alexander McQueen like runway show, and he's laying people out with like the joy in his face.
Yeah.
Wait, what? I was like, oh, and they let you fight just on the ice? It's like, okay, I could check out this hockey stuff. I could be inside this.
Yeah, it's dope to go to a game.
I've only been to a handful.
Playoff games watching on TV are good, but when you actually go to a game, there's a level of energy, especially when they score, because you don't get a goal every time.
Mm-hmm.
You may get if tops 3 goals total. So like when you get the goal, that energy is sky high. And then you see the fights, you see the big hits and stuff like that. So for anybody who doesn't care about hockey, go to a game first and it will change your perspective on it.
Oh yeah. What would you say, what sport has the best playoff atmosphere?
Oh, shoot. Dude, actually, I'm not going to say, I got to think about hockey that's some crazy energy.
It's up there.
What? Yeah. See, here's the thing, which is crazy though, because a lot of us in the United States, we sleep on soccer. But I had to cover the World Cup, bro. Bro, you think the NFL is big? You think the fan base, the fraternity or sorority that all these teams have when they cover their particular team, it's for real.
Oh yeah,
it's for real. So, from experience, soccer definitely, but out of this country.
Yeah.
Here. I'm literally going through a bunch of championships that I've been at.
First of all, the number of champions.
Right?
Yeah.
20 years in the game, son. You know what I mean? It's a lot to
seen many a game.
Recount.
I mean, the NBA Finals has because you're constantly, you could be going back and forth. So you have that, like it goes back and forth.
Yeah, the fourth quarter gets
it gets intense. I hate to lean on basketball, but I guess so.
I'm gonna tell you, I spent a little bit of time in Munich, Germany, and being out there when Bayern München is playing, and they were playing in like the World Cup, the way that the city shut down was almost uncomfortable.
You said Bayern Munich?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way that everything shut down, it was like, first of all, if you didn't have the jersey on that day, people were gonna look at you like what did you do here? You didn't get the memo.
You didn't get the email.
I'm talking about the church shut down. Like everything was done.
Yeah.
It's like at this point in time, you were supposed to be outside watching if you couldn't get inside the stadium, watching in the city center on the big screens, and everybody was doing the exact same thing. It was like, wait a minute, I did not know you can't do anything if you wanted to.
Soccer is the sport of the world.
Yeah.
Hands down. Like not even close. Not even close.
I found that out the hard way. I was like, I don't even know the chance. Like, I don't speak German like that. I was like, Sprechen Sie Deutsch? She's like, what's going on? It's oh, okay, I can't follow.
Grab a beer, bro. At the end of the day,
watch the ball go in the net.
I just cheered when everybody else cheered. I was like, all right, make sure I'm on the right side.
You've been here before.
I was like, I don't want no hooligan mess. I'm staying on my lane.
They start chanting. You find yourself.
I was like, I'm trying to get into this. Yeah.
Okay, all right, cool.
It's like I'm a fish out of water. I don't really know where to go from here, but it made sense.
Now, where is the wildest place journalism and broadcasting has taken you?
Lagos, Nigeria.
Wow. Talk about it, brother.
And I don't know, it's Lagos or Lagos. I think it's Lagos.
I've heard it both ways. But I'm not well versed in that.
So I'm working in Lansing, and there was a basketball player by the name of Edon Ibak, and he had a bad basketball game, and his radio guy, I think they're playing Illinois, but this radio guy was like, man, he needs to go back to where he came from, turn in his scholarship. And people don't realize people from Nigeria, like, it's hard enough to get a scholarship, but just to get a visa to even come into the United States is hard. And so what we did was we raised money to pay for this whole 10-day trip to Nigeria to basically tell his story. Now, I didn't mind telling the story, I've liked that human interest side of it too. But on the back end, I was like, man, I'm going back to the place possibly where I came from.
Motherland.
Yeah. And you feel it. You guys ever been to Africa?
Nope. No, that's on the list though.
Dude, you feel that energy. And the people in Nigeria, you realize that even though like here in the States, it's almost like a barrier sort of sometimes between Africans and African Americans. But when that is ripped away, we're kind of actually very similar. And when I can remember leaving to get on the plane, dude, I never boo-hooed and cried as a grown man because you felt at home. I don't know if that's exactly where my family came from, but I know that's the continent, that's the land, that's the western part of Africa where your family came from, and you feel that energy, man. And you felt like you were leaving this family reunion of being connected back to where you actually came from. That was dope.
Wow.
Yeah, that was dope as heck.
Yeah, I've only had something that was comparable going. So I've never made it back to Africa, but somehow, some way, those boats stopped on my side of the family in Panama, and then like along that whole space.
Yeah.
And I got around in Panama, and I could see, never had been until I was an adult, see people that have similar facial structures to people that are in your family.
God,
I was like,
slave trade was
is that James? It's like, wait a
Yo,
minute.
James, what up, cuz?
He was looking around, but yeah, the Atlantic slave trade went all up and down, like the whole Eastern Seaboard and across. So we have that diaspora spreads all the way through to Central and South America as well as the Americas.
There were more, like so many more slaves that were in Brazil,
Yeah.
the United States, like not even close.
And Colombia had like almost like a 28-30% like black population at a certain point in time, but you would never see that outwardly reported.
It's stuff they don't teach, dude.
No, but
I mean, now a little bit, but back then, nah.
I didn't see it until I went there. And when I went there, it was like, oh, y'all have a Black Lives Matter movement happening too. Like, you have all of this. It's like, wait a second, hold on. The world is bigger than our sphere.
Correct.
So the fact that you had that worldly perspective and you have this key that opens up so many doors in the broadcasting, but also in just the perspective of knowing what teamwork is and knowing, how to relate to people, man, it has to open up so many doors for you.
Yeah, no, it definitely has. Definitely has.
All right. So I got some rapid fire questions that I want to come back to you with. And again,
We doing this now?
Been looking at the script.
Let me sit up for this one.
I saw, you got your top 9. We only got 5 for you, my brother.
Quick five.
Quick five.
Tight 5, if you will.
I want to knock out a tight 5, and I got to start this off with, if you had any athlete that you could interview, past or present, who would it be and why?
Man, I interviewed a lot of good athletes already, man.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I've interviewed Jordan to like Tom Brady, LeBron, any athlete.
Any athlete.
Oh, it can be any time.
Anytime.
Shoot. I want to interview Muhammad Ali in his prime. In his prime. Like, I want Muhammad Ali takes the mic, like,
and he's giving you those bars.
Bam.
Like prime time Ali.
Just roll that from beginning to end. How long is the segment? As long as he
whenever he stops.
Keep rolling. Don't stop.
Let him keep going. I love that, man. Yeah. Okay. Top 3 running backs all time.
Emmitt Smith will be one. My boy Adrian Peterson will be in that same circle. Emmitt used to piss me off, by the way. I was a Giants fan.
My father was a diehard Dallas Cowboys
I had the jersey.
fan.
You know what I mean?
E.
The white.
Smith.
You had the Emmitt jersey?
I stole it from my cousin. I ain't buy it with my own. I took it from him. The white and blue.
Oh, gosh, that's tough thinking of a third one. I guess Barry Sanders.
Barry was up there.
Yeah.
That ain't a bad 3 right there.
That's not a bad 3. I'll say that's pretty
But
solid.
like Adrian Peterson, man, if he had more of an opportunity, like when he had the child, the ACL or the
Came back
or
pretty quick.
the child abuse stuff and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Who knows, like
What he could have did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that dude. I felt bad for linebackers trying to
Knock you right off.
I covered when he was in Washington. I covered him. He was like maybe 34, and players would talk about I'm like, yo, who's the fastest on the team? And they're like, hands down, Adrian Peterson.
At 34.
Yeah, at 34, still the fastest dude on the team. Dude's a freak of nature, man.
That's some power, man. Horsepower in there.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to move it. All right. Okay. If you had to debate any sports anchor of your choosing, who would it be and why?
I'm going after Stephen A. Smith, man.
Okay.
One of my frat brothers too, man. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
It's funny you mentioned that.
But I think about it. If that opportunity came, your boy's gonna be the night before studying everything. Oh, you get this.
You gotta get your vocab
I'm gonna
up.
put this. Yeah.
Theatrics, you gotta be ready to get all animated.
I'm gonna try to bring fire. Listen,
preposterous.
Listen, I may go into that as like a mid-major team in the NCAA tournament taking on a 1 seed, but I'm gonna play. I'm gonna try to hold my own. But yeah, I'll love the. I mean, who else is better than him?
You talking about the Pantheon right there.
Yeah,
man.
who else is better to debate against?
That's it.
I wouldn't have.
I mean, there's some decent dudes to debate, but Stephen A. Smith, he's not the highest paid dude at ESPN for nothing.
Yeah, it makes sense.
For sure.
It makes a lot of sense.
I had to host a joint where they were paying me $10,000 to host, and I couldn't do it because my daughter had a recital. I went to Stephen A. I was like, hey, do you want to make some quick money and host this so-and-so? He was like, I don't do anything less than 25,000.
Excuse me.
Must be freaking nice.
My bad, brother. No
Must be
disrespect.
nice.
No disrespect.
Oh, yeah. I'll
For that chump change right there. You know.
That's wild, man. Yeah, I look forward to that day one day, Kyle. We get there.
Sure. I can just turn down a measly 10.
Yeah, 10. I can't wake up for nothing like that. Nah,
I
that's
don't
smooth.
even sneeze at that.
What's the last album you listened to, beginning to end, no skips?
All right, so I'm a dude who actually, I gave up the secular music back in 2010. Like
Okay.
Jay-Z was my dude.
Okay.
So now I'm like all on the hip hop R&B.
Okay.
I mean the gospel hip hop and R&B. So beginning to end was definitely one of Lecrae's albums.
The production on those Lecrae albums go up.
Bro, the whole 116 clique, him, Andy Mineo, Tadashi, KB, like they have some fire. I used to know a DJ, and we'll go to like the club, and I'll be like, yo, play this Lecrae song in the middle of this whole joint. I bet you everybody starts dancing.
It goes up.
And they still keep dancing. I'm just like, yo, if you can listen to the music and still jam, but you're putting a positive word in your head, it's easy switch for me. But
Thanks
everybody
for
doesn't
doing
listen to the gospel hip hop.
Cool.
But see, it'll probably be one of Lecrae's albums from beginning to end. Now I just, with the phones, you can play.
You got the playlist.
Oh,
you
yeah,
get it going.
you
Yeah.
got the playlist, whatever. But it was probably something Lecrae.
All right. And my last one for you.
But if I had to think about maybe one of the old joints
Okay,
I used to
before
listen
you did it.
So I did have a moment, I think it was maybe last fall, where I listened to Ja Rule's joint.
Ja, they need to give.
Get a break.
We need to give Ja the respect he deserves.
We ain't
man.
really happy here. Dog, when that album came out, I don't care what his future like now. When that album came out,
Yeah.
what? Take a look into our eyes and see pain with our fear. What?
Come on. He had a moment, man.
What?
Yeah. It shows.
So every once in a while,
too.
I do sneak off and listen to something. But
Little
definitely,
backslide on the Ja. I see what you're saying.
I remember that. Yeah, listen to the beginning and that Ja Rule album
I love that,
and
man.
Noriega.
Nori, come on, CNN.
And yes, yeah.
He giving out a very
the Nori album.
Okay.
Al Capone and Noriega. Yeah, just the thing was the first one he did by himself, right? It was just Nori.
Nori.
Yeah.
N-O-R-E.
Yeah, you got a very Queens palate over there, my friend. I'm hearing it.
I'm right next door. You heard of Connecticut?
Of course, right? I found out later in life.
You're familiar with that place, right?
No, we the stepsister to all the New York people. Someone would be like, I'm from Brooklyn, I'm from the Bronx. Where are you from? New Haven. Oh, okay.
And you doubt it till you go there, and you be like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It makes
You on the
sense
map
now.
now.
So you talked about the frat before, my brother.
Okay.
Okay, if you were stranded on a desert island
I see where this is going.
and you had to be rescued, and the only way you could get rescued is if you were adorned from top to bottom in Kappa, crimson, and cream, or if you were going with the Sigma, royal blue, and pure white. Which one are you choosing?
My black ass is swimming across the water.
Respect.
I'm gonna get my Michael Phelps on. I'm gonna sing all the poems I did when I was online. See it through. Invictus. I'm gonna go back to pledging all over again. And I'm gonna make it. And I'm gonna be the outest Q in the world because I almost drowned.
For these colors.
Bro, like what kind of like
Drowned on these.
like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like nah, dude. Like
Ain't happening.
dude, I can't even picture me wearing even any Sigma gear. Like, nah, bro. Dude, if I get rescued and I'm wearing that gear, I can't be in my frat anymore. I'll have no respect. I'll have respect for swimming and drowning. Oh, we remember Darren Haynes.
He went
was
out.
a great.
Haynes left it all on the line.
He went it all out for Omega. You know what I mean? I'll be out. I'll be dead, but I'll be out. We may put a monument and stuff like that in the headquarters and stuff. I have a better life than then they'll probably take my control number away and be like, he's not in a frat. We disown him. Yeah, dude, I'm swimming.
I tried to find a
Naked.
way to get you your question the same way that you were giving people in Washington, man, to the Dallas or the Giants.
The rapid
So-
nine.
so I tried to get at the
that's
same
the first
way.
time someone hit me with that though. When you said on a stranded island, I was like, oh shoot, this is what goes around comes around. You about to hit me with my own joint. That's why I was like, I know where this is going.
The underhand right
I just
there.
didn't know. I was like, what am I wearing?
Yeah, it's like, yo, I heard a lot of Giant slander on some of those questions, man. So it's like, all right,
They're
how can I?
rivalry. So Yeah,
How can we
butt
package
naked. You don't wear no Giants, no Eagles gear, no Cowboys gear.
Yeah, man.
I'm a Ravens fan. That's where I'm going. You know,
Be more
Nah,
bus.
he
the
taking
home
He
team,
taking
you
the
know?
easy way out.
that's it, man. That's all I got. You know, but man, we could sit here for hours, for days. But as we close down, you know,
Okay.
sun sets and the night falls. We gotta ask, you know, if there was a piece of advice that you could give our listeners, someone, you know, off the strength, if you will, to follow a passion, to put their best foot forward, to do whatever it is that they feel they need to do, what advice could you give that person?
Shoot. Matter of fact, let me take my daughter's right there. Baby, can you pass me that book bag? It may be heavy. Yeah, pass me that. I keep this in my bag still to this day. It's gonna be heavy. Be a champion.
That's the real work.
Yeah, be a champion. Let me see this bag real quick.
I love the cameo. And that's a serious bag.
Thank you, baby. That's my assistant.
For sure.
Oh, here we go right here. I have a few of these. This is a copy of my very first contract in the broadcasting business, man. You see right there how much money I made a year?
Well, okay.
So I made only $14,000 a year.
That's the
And-
annual salary.
Yeah, bro, I made more at my first job at Taco Bell.
Jeez.
But what I do is my words of advice I'll give to people is to don't worry about the current situation that you're in. Always think ahead to the dream of where you want to be. Like I wasn't worried about this $14,000 a year. What I was worried about was not getting to my final destination, which at the time was ESPN. And so I tell my young journalism students is that think of it like you're leaving your house to go to school. You're leaving your house where you came from, you're driving around the road and stuff like that. And then eventually you look back, you don't see where you came from, but when you look forward, you don't know where you're going. And then you have your, your stop signs, stop lights, bumps in the roads, potholes, whatever like that are just part of your journey to get to where you're going to go. But you know deep down inside, I'm going to school. I'm going to get there. There's no doubt that you know you're going to school. Have that same confidence in you trying to go after your goal or your dream job. Just like if you leave the house and you know you're going to school, know that you're going to get to, for me, ESPN, despite how many curves and bumps are on the road. And I did that on a $14,000 salary.
I don't even know what that is hourly for a year.
I'm trying to remember, man.
That's crazy.
I know I lived on assisted living. I remember that. I got other stuff in here, man. I have the paper, and I got laid off from ESPN in here too. It's motivation, man.
You talk about keep it with you.
Look how old this little folder look. But for real,
Motivation.
the first job, and then the dream job. Nobody ever tells you what happens when you lose your dream. And this is when I lost my dream. And like I told you before earlier, the best thing that ever happened to my career was me losing my
Losing
dream.
your dream.
I proposed to my wife the day after I got laid off.
That's a bold man right here.
He worked at K
No,
Jewelers. He had the ring.
But I went to Jared for that one.
Okay. He went to Jared.
Yeah, that was all planned out. Matter of fact, I proposed here in New York. Yeah, like it was already planned to propose, man. I didn't know I was gonna get laid off, and I'm laid off, and I'm like, oh shoot, now I gotta propose and be like, baby, will you marry me? But I ain't got no job.
Talk about that moment for a second, man, if you don't mind, because that's a level of confidence and also I would say faith that you have to go back and count on not just your part but also on your partner's part, man. Take me through that.
Well, I think we both knew that when you work at ESPN, you're one of the best, and you know that like someone's gonna want you. So there was never really any doubt. And remember, I went through the situation in Boston when I lost that job,
right?
And I got the ESPN job, so I've already went through it. So when you get through something, you don't worry anymore because you know that you can get through that type of obstacle or get through that journey. So there was never any worry at all for both of us. We just knew it was only a matter of time before a job would come. We just didn't know where it would be.
Man, from being fortified by that adversity to being inspirational on the confidence that you can put into being yourself in your own space and really just carving it all the way through. And I just appreciate everything that you hit us with today, man. It's been
dope,
something
man.
that's been really inspirational, man. Seriously.
Appreciate you guys for having me.
Yeah, man. It's a chance occurrence walking past the window and a man wanting to skate. Look at how far you can get off of that. I don't have a bag full of inspiration just yet, but Kyle, we could build out a story from here.
You know I'm gonna keep something in the back pocket now and in the bike bag. You know what I mean?
This is gonna be across the satchel, man.
For sure.
So I know the people that are at home listening in, they're gonna walk away with so much inspiration that they're gonna need to keep up with all the amazing stuff that you're doing over there, brother. How can we find you? How can we keep up? And how do we know what's going on next inside your world?
So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I was about to say the Black Planet in my.
I like if you're restoring the feeling. I'm coming back with you.
Black Planet used to be the joint.
It was. Don't sleep on it.
But all the social media platforms, it's Darren M Haynes. M as in Matthew. Matthew's my middle name. My mother's maiden name. She wanted a part representation of her and me.
Respect to mom.
Her last name changed. But at Darren M Haynes for all social media platforms, you can see all my work. I'm always posting all the time. Same thing on YouTube as well.
Oh man, I went through it. I definitely even saw the Christmas video with you over in that
that's
side.
Old school. That's throwback.
So I was going through it all.
Done that in a while.
He was leaving it up there. So I appreciate it.
Bougie now. You want to do the Christmas video? We're gonna do a Christmas video this year. Oh, she said sure.
There we go.
There
we got it on tape now.
Right. She said it right here.
Hey, make sure you clip that off.
Right?
I'm telling you, you better do it.
We got a full break right here. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much again.
Appreciate y'all.
Once again, it's been another fantastic episode of Off the Strength from a trainer called Tony.
K.R. Jones.
Peace and much love to y'all out there. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Peace.